Okay, I will not waste your time. My biggest problem with this book, this cursed book, is love triangles. I came here to read the story of the greatest assassin in the entire world. What do I get? This is false marketing at best. Because I came to read the story of an assassin, and instead I got the story of a love triangle that ruined everything. So initially in this story, we're introduced to a lot of interesting stuff. So the very first opening line is this.
After a year of slavery in the salt mines of Endovier, Selena Sardathian was accustomed to being escorted everywhere in shackles and at sword point.
The first chapter finishes with this.
The gold royal emblem embroidered on the breast of black uniforms. These were members of the royal family's personal guard. Ruthless, lightning-swift soldiers trained from birth to protect and kill. She swallowed tightly. Light-headed and immensely heavy all at once, Selena faced the room. On an ornate redwood throne sat a handsome young man. Her heart stopped as everyone bowed. She was standing in front of the crown prince of Otterlin. This girl is going to go into a competition and she is going to be in some deep politics. We are not, no. Let me rephrase this. I am sold. I am promised of a story with politics, the best assassin in the world, and a bloody competition. I kept reading this book not for love or romance, but for blood. And I got the exact opposite. The love triangle in this story is so BS that it actually ruins the most interesting part Sarah spends a ton of time establishing. Because let me tell you the truth, Sarah J. Maas spends a ton of time building the interesting and intriguing politics in the main city. We come into the city and immediately we are introduced to all sorts of mad stuff. The first interaction with the king of Otterlin is just amazing. It is so amazing. It hooked me on this story. And let me tell you, it was so amazing that I actually kept reading the story for that particular interaction, for more of that stuff. But did I get that? No. I got a story that did the exact opposite it promised me. But you see, that's not where my problems with this story end. Because honestly, love triangles are not the end of the world. A lot of the people out there make it out as if love triangles are the end of the world. And I do not think they were what killed this story for me. What killed this story for me are the following 3 reasons. The first of those is the main protagonist, Selena. Put it simply, Selena is not consistent. And after laboring for days, I think I finally found out why. You see, Sarah J. Maas writes 2 different characters into a single character. The first character is a deadly assassin revered by everyone across the world, and who, as the following audio can attest to, who is just a bloody badass. That's not even the best part. There's a best part, the Crown Prince said, face caught between a wince and a smile. Kael glared at her before speaking. There's no hope of escaping from Endovier. Your father made sure that each of Endovier's sentries could shoot a squirrel from 200 paces away. To attempt to flee is suicide. But you're alive, the prince said to her. Selena's smile faded as the memory struck her. Yes. What happened? Dorian asked. Her eyes turned cold and hard. I snapped. That's all you have to offer as an explanation for what you did? Captain Westfall demanded. She killed her overseer and 23 sentries before they caught her. She was a finger's tip from the wall before the guards knocked her unconscious. So? Dorian said. Selena seethed. So? Do you know how far the wall is from the mines? He gave her a blank look. She closed her eyes and sighed dramatically. From my shaft, it was 363 feet. I had someone measure. So, Dorian repeated. Captain Westfall, how far do slaves make it from the mines when they try to escape? 3 feet.
Then the next character is the wannabe assassin. So the first character is the actual assassin. Then the next character is the wannabe assassin. A girl who is cosplaying as the real Selena and acts completely contrary to the way Selena acts in the flashbacks we're given. She is not an assassin. For instance, she eats a bunch of food that is just out there. Suspiciously out there, might I add. An assassin who has probably poisoned many idiots in the past. Yet, here we are, shown someone plucky enough, someone innocent enough, someone so an assassin like, just picking up food. Someone walks into her room. She keeps sleeping. That does not startle her. She does not have the reflexes of an assassin. She does not have the senses that are attained from years and years of being an assassin. So we have the actual assassin in the background, in history. Yeah, because at some point I honestly got confused. Is this going to be a twist where the real Selena is like someone else, and then this girl is pretending to be Selena, and the real Selena escaped the salt mines many years ago, and she got this particular girl to assume her name? Because that's honestly what I was speculating at some point. That is how inconsistent this character is. She is not subtle, the same way an assassin would be in the real world. She is brash. She is quick to jump into actions. Yet in the flashbacks, we are shown a Selena that is careful and calculated. It is honestly bizarre how many people didn't notice this inconsistency at all. I suppose as a writer it's easier for me to spot this type of BS, but come on. Are you seriously going to look me in the face and tell me the Selena we see is the same character as the one we see in the flashbacks? I'm not saying that a character has to be static. She can change. But change, notice this by the way, change is not inconsistent. Change is something that was set up in the beginning of the story through a showcase of a blatant flaw. What Selena goes through is bizarre. I think what is happening to Selena is the stumbling of a confused author who does not know how to write interesting characters. Because honestly, I am at that point. Now, problems don't stop at love triangles and Selena, because I'm okay with the love triangles. I am not okay with inconsistent characters. And then we come to the second major problem. Sarah J. Maas tries to address issues girls face in the real world, such as prostitution, depression, and post-trauma nightmares. However, she does a terrible job. I will admit, she does a great job in addressing and tackling prostitution. However, the PTSD and depression stuff are pathetic attempts at best. We are shown that Selena, mind you, the kick-ass assassin, who is totally badass, because we are never shown her doing something badass. We just see this girl and we are told she's a badass. Okay, let's accept it. Anyway, our kick-ass assassin is told to have PTSD through some nightmares here and there. Okay, however, and I will say this again, however, she behaves as if she has never experienced that nightmare or the stuff that was giving her that nightmare before in her life. She starts behaving as if she is a completely mentally healthy person who is just normal. She has a nightmare, wakes up, and she just takes off as if nothing has ever scared her. She doesn't have the realistic perspective someone who has actually experienced this stuff would have when they have an episode. I am actually quite surprised that a lot of people out there did not talk about this. But I suppose I noticed this problem because I have actually experienced a lot of PTSD myself. I am still paranoid to this very day from being raised in a war-torn country back in Somalia in 2005. Today we are doing much better as a country. Me and my parents lived in the capital city of Mogadishu, and we lived in a constant shock because our particular area, Hamarwain, was really entrenched in a lot of warfare between the government, who was just pathetic at that point, who practically didn't exist. It was a federal government, and the terrorists who had a lot more power than the government. You see, war and blood and death, these things, when you notice them and when you see them, they don't just glance over you. They are not a breeze. Seeing death is a very traumatic experience. I can attest this because the first time I saw a group of 3 people dead on the sidewalk of a restaurant that was just blown up, it changed my perspective on life, because from that point I became a completely conservative person. I was never rash after that day in my life. I always paid keen attention to social gatherings. Currently I'm living in Malaysia for a university. However, living in this country, in Malaysia, I am still to this very day scared of social gatherings. I do not go to the Friday prayer, and I am a Muslim. I do not go to the Friday prayer in Malaysia because it gives me just panic attack. In the class, I sit at the very front because for some reason a lot of the Malaysian students do not sit in the very front of the class. They sit in the second row or the third row, fourth row, and so on and so forth, all the way to the back. I always sit in the front row and I always push my chair closer to the teacher because I will not have a panic attack that way. Selena experiences a lot of trauma in her flashbacks and we are shown that she has nightmares, but all of those things do not reflect in how she behaves in the real world. At this point, I am actually completely certain Selena is a bloody psychopath. She is unfazed. I mean, if I ask Sarah J. Maas, she will 100% tell me Selena is not a psychopath. She will be proud to tell me that the girl is not a psychopath. But I 100% guarantee you, as someone who has been through a lot of trauma, who has witnessed people blown up and killed, stuff like this never leaves your brain. See, experiencing your own family members die peacefully on a deathbed changes your life in ways you will never imagine because you will never see life the same way again. Life will become a precious glass that can drop at any point and shatter. Selena, despite having lived through a ton of bloodshed, behaves as if she has not experienced a single drip of it. In fact, she behaves as if she has never seen someone die. Selena does not have a perspective on life after all of those things. And all of those things that she has endured in the past are not reflected in the way she behaves in the slightest way. This tells me that Selena is A, either a bloody psychopath, or B, Sarah J. Maas did not bother researching what it's like to witness so much bloodshed. Mad shit. Because humans have a psychological device in their brain called empathy, which allows them to plug themselves in the perspective of other people, to experience what other people are experiencing. If I see someone else eating a burger, I will be like, wow, that must taste amazing. But the way Selena behaves is as if when she killed those people, she didn't experience any remorse. So Sarah J. Maas's pathetic attempt to talk about PTSD as if just the inclusion of PTSD is enough it's just lowly. World building. That's the next problem. Okay, I'm sorry, but if you're going to write a fantasy story, you better not come short on the world building. You're taking active steps to leave this world, the one we live in now. So when you go to the fantasy world, at least try a little bit. Because I'm not saying you have to build a perfect world or go mad like J.R. Tolkien, but I'm saying at least try. Granted, this world Sarah J. Maas has built, it has got some intriguing bits. I was enticed by the mention of the Witch Kingdom in the beginning. Also, the earliest description of the capital, when we're entering it for the first time, it indicated to me a world that is alive. And, more importantly, an author who knows, or at least at the time, an author who knew how to world build. That is the perspective I got from the first few chapters. However, that was the wrong understanding. It was indicated to me from what I had been given, but again, in Sarah J. Maas's old fashion, it was a false promise. From the first few chapters onward, all the world building I got was either one of three things. A, repetitive, and B, just bland and uncreative. It's stuff that is just so common in the fantasy genre that it's really not unique, and the addition of simply does not make you stand out. This brings me to the third option, which is a world that is diverse. I mean, come on. I heard so much about the world Sarah was presenting with the Throne of Glass. And granted, from a skin deep perspective, that is true. Sarah J. Maas's world is highly varied. There are shapeshifters, there are fae, witches, wielders, demons, and whatnot. But tell me, why is it that diversity in perspective is just absolutely lacking? Are you telling me that all of these different creatures who, mind you, not only have entirely different physiology, but come from opposite sides of the world, don't have differences in how they think? Let's take one thing for instance. I'm an East African myself. I have traveled when I was a child with my uncle up and down through the Horn, and I've also spent extensive years in West Africa, North Africa, and I've also been to the Middle East for 8 years, and currently I'm living in Southeast Asia, where I have been for the last 2 years, and I have experienced Western culture from afar. And let me tell you this, seeing so many different people from the world, I have come to understand that two different villages could approach the same topic in entirely different ways. And that is just the absolute fact I have come to learn deeply. The more you travel, the more you come to understand how insanely different cultures are. Take a topic, for instance, a random one. Let's say animals and the consumption of meat. In East Africa, eating meat is seen as a necessity, specifically in the Horn of Africa, because most of it is desert. So, where I am from, eating meat is considered the source of life. When we cook meat, we even go as far as to drink the soup that comes from cooking the meat. That's how deep the relationship goes. However, in India, for instance, you cannot eat all types of meat. You cannot eat beef, for instance. But that's because the Hindus do not eat beef. However, go to the Middle East and you will find a completely opposite stance. In India, you can eat pork, sure, they don't care. However, in the Middle East, where majority of the population are Muslims, you cannot eat pork. That's considered a huge no-no. Beef, on the other hand, is completely fine. Come to the Western Hemisphere, specifically Europe and North America. There are entire sects of the population who only eat vegetation. And I'm not saying that vegetarians, don't exist outside of the Western world. However, they are far less common outside of the Western world. I have also seen other people in the Western culture who don't really just think a lot about what they eat. Looking at you, Americans. I have not been to Latin America, and I'm not familiar with how they approach the consumption of meat. But do you see where I'm going with this? An act as simple as eating meat is approached from so many different perspectives by so many different people. That is forgetting about religion, politics, specific ideas such as executions, abortions, and so on and so forth. Because let me tell you, so many different cultures have such diverse perspectives on abortion. There are places in the world like America where people are split in half, but in other parts of the world, for instance, it is much more one-sided. In some places, the girl can do whatever she wants. In others, she can't do anything at all with her body, and everything is dictated by the community or her husband or her parents or her guardians or her whatever, right? So do you see the problem? Sarah J. Maas has a world that is ludicrously diverse. However, her world is only skin diverse. She has got different species, but she does not have different ideas that are driving the story. They all kind of think in this hazy, similar way, in this sort of globalized way. And let me tell you, there's no internet. There's nothing like that is connecting them. Every species should have an entirely different perspective on every other topic. However, we do not see that with the world of Sarah J. Maas. Here are two problems I noticed, but I'm just going to mention briefly. The writing style in this book is just overdone. I mean, honestly. And then there is the problem of unrealistic romance. And here lies the final conclusion about this story. Every problem I have with this book is the byproduct of Sarah J. Maas's utter lack of research. And that's where I will end this. I'm not reading the second book. Heck, I will never read anything by Sarah J. Maas ever again. Okay, most like maybe I will give her a second chance again in the far future. I have done this for some authors. I'm not closing the book on her completely or the door on her completely. But for now, I'm not reading any more Sarah J. Maas. Not today, not this week, not this year. Maybe 2021. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, like the video. If you have made it so far, I appreciate you. I think you're amazing. God bless you. If you have not made it this far, probably you're not hearing this. I don't even know why the hell I'm saying that. But yeah, if you have opinions about, if you disagree with me, please share your thoughts below. I would like to listen to you. And I will always respond because I'm such a nobody. My channel is so small. So yeah, subscribe and like this video if you enjoyed it, and have a nice day. God bless you.